so happy we were able to connect. I wanted to reach out to you. Much like many other people, I watched you on Indian Matchmaking, which became this highly addictive show for me. Finished it within 2 days. And once I kind of became a fan and decided to kind of follow your journey a little bit more, I realized that not only are you an attorney, but you're also an entrepreneur and you have your company, My Golden Balloon. So I would love for you to tell me a little bit more about that and how you got started.
Sure. So a friend of mine and I live, who lives in London. I was visiting last year, I guess December of 2018. So more than a year ago, almost 2 years ago. And we were sitting around having drinks at the Soho House, and it's all these creative people everywhere. And we were talking about how great it would be if, we could one day own our own business and be like these creatives and not be behind office desks forever. And she's like, well, let's start a company. And I was like, yeah, what do we both love? Well, we both love travel. We met when we were studying abroad when we were 20. And we went around the world in a cruise ship. And both of us have now, in our 30s, traveled extensively all over the world. And in fact, she's American, but has lived abroad, I think pretty much for 10, 15 years now. Oh, so wow. It was a great fit, and we have different skills. So we became partners right off the bat. And we thought, what better way to share our love of travel than to take people on trips with us? We love our own trips. We're both itinerary pros at this point because we're constantly building them for the people that travel with us. Yeah. And so we wanted to expand that to people, anyone who wanted to travel with us, not just our friends and not our significant others, not just our family, but anyone who wanted to see the world but felt daunted by it for whatever reason, for the fact that they were traveling alone, or they didn't want to make the itinerary themselves, or it was a country that they weren't familiar with and didn't want to navigate by themselves. Right. And so the idea was born. And we have, it took us a while to get the idea off the ground and get the website set up. And we toured around with other ideas. First, we weren't like, I don't know, do we want to even be doing tours, or do we want to create content that people can use by themselves? And so we came up with another idea too. Why don't we also offer city guides for $3, downloadable, easy 2-page guides of my favorite things that I like to do in a specific city, thinking that one day we'll have archives that anyone could go. It'd be like so many cities that they could just be like, oh, I'm going to Nashville, I'm going to Istanbul, I'm going to Rio. And they would come to us and download the guide and use it as like their pocketbook. Like we already, sometimes when we travel, either it's our families or significant others or friends, we've already got like ideas of what we want to do. Exactly. And then we want to kind of fill in the blanks. Like, but where should I grab breakfast that morning before the tour? Where should we go if we actually have energy to have a drink after, what we saw this evening, or a cooking class that we went to, or should we do a cooking class? Like, would that be an experience that, we should consider? And so we kind of founded the company on those two principles, and we said, let's try them out. And obviously, by the time we got our 2020 itinerary out, COVID had hit. So we did one tour before we canceled all the 7 others after. There were 8 planned for 2020. We had people booked on all of them. And we had varying interest on all of them, but they were all booked and ready to go all the way through the end of 2020. And then in February, we did our first one to Jordan, and we had a group come with us. And on the way home, we were in the Frankfurt airport, and we all started noticing masks and temperature checks. And at our March trip, and we're like, okay, we'll cancel that. And then our May trip got canceled. Then our June trip got canceled. Then our July trip. And I was like, this is unreal. Like, what a year to start a travel company. But, we thought maybe this is the opportunity to grow that other side that we were talking about creating content, and maybe it looks different, and maybe we'll pivot. So we're still always in the maybe phase, and strategizing and trying to figure out what's happening. I'm now also working with a guy in Germany who's also American but lives there, and he's bringing a lot of cool ideas to the table because they are traveling in Europe, and he is in Greece right now doing one of our scouting trips for me since I can't scout, and he's in there for 2 weeks, and he's looking at potential itineraries and checking out hotels and going on different tours, and then kind of scoping out like what our trip there would look like. Right. And it's interesting because they are living like a whole different world over there. So our world is different. Like, people are in different stages of lockdown, and countries and continents are in different stages of allowing people to safely travel, or not allowing even, but actually kind of, there's like mandates on who can, there's mandates on who can go where and with what passports. And so that's kind of like the journey of how we got here. And
that is incredible. I think it's always nice to see why an entrepreneur starts the company that they did. And so even from the show, I had heard you say you have traveled to 40 countries, which is incredible. I'm sure it's more at this point, but it's definitely amazing to see that. And I think kind of pivoting off of you finding that company with someone else, how do you feel like having a business partner helps, and what qualities do you look for in a business partner when you decide to start a company together? Oftentimes I have clients come up to me, say they're wanting to start a company just by themselves or with a partner. And I think it's really important that you kind of have the same aligned goals, as well as some differences that can hopefully benefit the company as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. So I've tried businesses in the past alone, and it definitely helps me. And so maybe it's a personality trait that I need someone. Also, when it's your side hustle, it's different than you taking a year off of all of your corporate jobs and saying, I'm going to try this. I have my savings set up. I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to give it 15 hours a day or 10 hours a day versus I'm going to give it 3 hours to 7 hours a week sometimes at the most, especially nowadays. Like it was more before the show, but now some weeks I'm giving it 3 hours, and that's when you need the partner. It depends on things like your time constraints. It depends on your skills and your skill set. And so what I was looking for when I was looking for partners were who has real world experience that doesn't mimic mine. So are they in branding or marketing, or can they build websites? Are they good with content? Do they have an interest in learning things about social media platforms? Because I'm more of a content driven person, and I create through my words and through my pictures and through my actual travels. I'm more detail oriented. So I'm doing the itineraries. I'm pulling together the content of the guides, but I don't enjoy the other part. Like I would love to, and I do all my favorites like in a Word doc, hand them over, and someone else copy edits them and then gives them to a graphic designer and coordinates the PDFs and the black and white versions and the print versions. Like that stuff just drains me. And if it's my side job, I don't want it to drain me. And if it's my passion, I want to, as much as I can, and it's not always possible, give myself to it because it's what I really want to be doing, not because it's an end goal of finishing that product. And so it's about finding someone who wants to do that and really wants to do it, doesn't just want to be part of your team, but wants to be part of the business. And I found that over and over again, and I've been very fortunate. You also have to have a partner you can talk to. You have to have very honest conversations about how profits are going to be split, how expenses and risk are going to be taken on, how liability is going to be allocated between you two should something go wrong. I think these are very honest and hard conversations to have with people. And sometimes it would probably help if they're not too close of a friend, but others would say maybe it helps if they are. So again, it's your personality and how you really view business partners, especially in these early days.
Yeah, definitely. I think having those conversations in the forefront right in the beginning are really important. And you actually had mentioned that they're actually from somewhere else. And I think that's really important as well, to have people from diverse backgrounds who have been well-traveled, who know people as well, because it gives your company a foundation of, especially yours being a travel company, a foundation of, okay, what can we look for? How can the itinerary be split up? What are people's interests? What can we kind of add to make this enjoyable for people? But how do you balance your full-time job with a side hustle that you have currently?
It's hard. Right now, my life is not just that. It's also press from day to night. It's, talking to the viewers still. It's engaging with them and hearing their thoughts on the show. I thought that would be like 2 weeks. We're on week 7 or 8. It's still going strong. I still get hundreds of messages a day. Yeah. It's definitely slowing down this week and the next, but press is in. I still do 2 to 3 press engagements a day, starting at 6 or 7 a.m. and then going, like I do India press. I try to do India press from 9:30 to midnight every night. Just because for me, that's a time I know I'm going to be available, because sometimes during the days it's really hard with work. I am in court on Zoom, but on court I have phone calls, I have depositions, I have mediations. Like I'm a lawyer. So for my golden balloon, what do I give to it? I try, or in the past I've given it all day Sunday, just because that's a slower day. And in the past I had to say no to social engagement sometimes, or say I am going to go to this birthday party for lunch, but I do have to then make sure I work through 10 p.m. tonight instead of closing down my computer at 7. Like I was very regimented, and that was the only way I could do it. But a partner also helps. We set deadlines for each other, and so then you're accountable. Because if it was just me by myself, I'd say, oh, this week I'm so busy, I'm not going to do work on it. But when someone else is there reminding you that your part of the work is important to the whole, then that's why a partnership for me especially works, because it's being accountable to someone else and wanting to be accountable to them, because they are also putting their heart and soul into this on their side time, because they also have a full-time job. And so I would really recommend that to people who aren't able to just do their entrepreneurial endeavor, if they're also doing their full-time job and they also have, families even, or young children, or whatever life stage they're in. Life is real, life happens. And hopefully you do also find a partner that can understand that. Obviously, when the show first came out, my partner Rob was like, yeah, it's fine. Like, take a week or two off. And I was like, no, I don't want to. Like, I don't want to put this to the side. So even that first week when we launched, I put aside 4 or 5 hours. I shut down my phone, which was really hard that first week, especially. And I worked on the company because it means that much to me.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's so admirable, actually. So one thing I really admire about you is that you're unapologetically yourself and that you have these ambitions and goals. And shifting gears a little bit, how do you feel like being on the show and kind of paralleling being an entrepreneur and also being in a relationship? What do you feel like you look for in a partner as someone who wants to support your goals and ambitions?
Yeah. And I think it's really important too that we call these people partners now, right? Like, I'm not looking for a husband, I'm looking for a partner, and I'm looking for a man who's not wanting a wife, but wanting a partner. And it's an interesting way that we phrase it nowadays, because this generation really is looking for that teammate. And I say it on the show, like, this is the only family member I'm going to pick. I will not pick my mom or my dad. I won't pick my siblings. I won't pick my kids. Let's be honest, some of us don't like our kids. Like, they're not our personality type, and we fight with them and they become teenagers, or we're fighting with them when they're 3. Like, you can't pick the personality types of even your own children. And so this is my one chance, and I'm taking it very seriously, and I'm taking it very thoughtfully. And for me, I want someone more laid back, more introverted, at least at home. What if they're a go-getter at work? That's fine. That's on them. But someone who like balances me out, So I was trying to tell Seema that. I was like, I want like a wallflower, a more introverted man, a laid back man. She's like, no, you want someone jolly. And I was like, I think Santa Claus is jolly, and I really don't want Santa Claus. So I don't know if there's like a lost in translation here, but no, I want like not the funniest guy in the room. I want the guy who doesn't love comedy. I was trying to tell her all these things, and she like didn't get it. And you see me trying to do that, you're like, and then people are like, those are weird lines to say. And I'm like, it's because I didn't think she understood English, because she asked me like, do you speak Hindi? And I was like, you don't want to speak to me in Hindi. It's terrible. Like, I speak like a 3-year-old in Hindi. And so I was like, no, I prefer to speak in English. So now right off the bat, I'm thinking, oh, this woman doesn't understand English that well. Like, this is gonna be interesting. How do you say the word introvert in Hindi? I still don't know.
Say it, actually.
I have no idea. I speak 3-year-old Hindi. I'm sure the 3-year-old's not using the word introvert. And so it's interesting for me. I still want that man, because I am one who's always go, go, go. Even at home, like, even my domestic sphere tends to get revved up, and I would love someone to compliment me and be like, hey, calm down. Like, it is a Sunday. Like, if you don't make it to 7 hours of work today, it's cool. Like, take a break, relax, like, hang out with me, And I want someone who's really intelligent and not just book smart, but like someone who years after college is still learning and growing and wants to share that with me, who can communicate that with me. That's a partner. That's a partner to me. And what I said 2 years ago when I taped that show is the same thing I want today, and the same thing I'm looking for, because for me, I believe that person will be a good fit for me and my family that I'm growing. So.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. I think actually when you do look for a partner, it's a lot of familiarities of ways you look for a business partner as well. You look for someone who understands you. You look for willingness to compromise, but not willingness to change your complete morals and your values as a whole. And I think that's something you definitely kind of exhibited on the show, which I definitely really admired about you. So as Seema put on the show that, a person has to kind of lower their standards a bit and kind of change as a person, I really don't think you need to. And so how do you feel like you should compromise, and how do you feel like you should change, if anything, in a partner, in a relationship, in an entrepreneurship sense? In what ways do you feel like there are ways to grow, and which ways do you feel like you can kind of be set towards the ways you already are?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I talk about that on the show a little bit. I mean, you get a snippet of it, but there was a larger conversation that the viewer doesn't get to see about how I am in my 30s, and how I don't think that some parts of me are set. And I say that, but you don't hear the second part, which is, and some parts of them are set. Right. And those things are politics, the way we view our family. So I live in the same city as my family. I expect to see them 2 to 3 times a week. And that's set. Like, if I do happen to live in the geographic distance of my family where I can see them that often, I will be seeing them that often. That part of me is set. It's not going to change based on what my partner thinks about how often we should see our families. And these are things in your 30s you're not really willing to compromise on. Like, if I was 19 and my fiance or my boyfriend was like, you see your family too much, I could have been at that age where I'd be like, yeah, you're right, that's kind of weird, I should stop. And now I don't I'm not there. Like, I'm past that. I grew as an adult by myself, and I made these decisions about the way I want my life to look by myself. And I'm not really willing to compromise things like my political leanings or my family choices, or I have a dog. I'm not willing to give up the dog for someone, like I love animals. Like, that's going to be an issue if they don't. And so I think that there's so many things as we get older. If we are still single, we're growing those parts of ourselves and making those decisions, and they're set. Other things aren't set. Where we geographically live, well, that might have to be a conversation based on our career paths. How many children we want, well, that's a decision for us to make. Like, there's so many things that you're going to make as a couple. What does your wedding look like? Is it big or small? Like, even the beginning part of it, like even, like I might want a small wedding somewhere very far away. He might want a larger wedding at home. What does that look like? So I think these ongoing conversations that are logistical make a difference. And then you do also keep growing, right? Just because I'm in my 30s, some parts of me are set, but some are not. And some will constantly grow, hopefully in the direction of my partner and his direction towards mine, so that we are getting closer and closer and are more aligned in what we want from this world together as a team.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think especially being part of the South Asian community itself, there's a lot of stereotypes in, girls needing to get married young and needing to get married before having a career and anything. And I think you've definitely done a great job in showing that you don't need to do that. You can build yourself before you bring another partner to you. How would you choose to relax for 10 days? Tell me Aparna's way of relaxing for 10 days.
Someone gives me 10 days, I'm on the plane. And I do think that wherever I go, if it's for 10 days, I still do relax. Like, I went to Argentina for 12 days, and definitely in between hiking mountains and glaciers and wine tasting and biking, I was still sneaking in the spa and skipping dinner some nights because I just wanted a massage, or I was skipping whitewater rafting because I needed to nap. Like, my body was tired from the 14-mile hike the day before, and I wasn't coping. And so I think we also do have to plan, but we also have to stay flexible to say, like, hey, I just need the massage. I don't need that fancy dinner. Or, hey, I'm going to have to nap and take this one out. Like, I think you can see the world and explore it, but also do it at your own pace so that you're not overexerting yourself and coming back completely exhausted. I mean, usually I am completely exhausted when I come home, but like rejuvenated too at the same time. I saw all these miraculous, amazing, marvelous things. And yeah, maybe I have to sleep for a few days, and maybe I'm not 100%, there at work in my mind, especially where I'm sneaking out early to go home. But those are the ways that I use my 10 days. I'm a lawyer. I don't get 10 days a lot. Like, I think the last 10-day trip I took was about a year and a half ago. So usually my trips are about 4 to 5 days. I went to Egypt for 5 days. I went to Ecuador for 4 days. I went to Colombia for 4 days. So like 4 to 5 days is kind of all I get sometimes. So if someone's like, hey, let's just go sit in Miami on the beach, I'm like, I'm going to go to Egypt, but you can sit on the beach. And I might have to make that compromise with someone one day. I know that he might say to me, like, I really need this. And I'm going to have to say, okay. Like, then we have to go do that, right? If your partner really needs that and that's their way to unwind, then to the beach we go. I mean, I might, like I said on the show, only sit there for 2 to 3 hours and then get up and go and, go to an art gallery or take a nap inside, or, eat a nice meal by myself while they lay out there for 15 hours for the day. But that's part of it too. That's a part of a relationship.
I love that. I think travel is something that you can never get back, and it's always amazing. I have this itch to travel these days, especially during COVID. And so that's a wonderful way to put it. And so I was so happy that I was able to connect with you on that, because I think you make an amazing addition to Texapreneur. And I think people are going to be really interested in hearing your story and knowing that you have been able to do so much in your life in such a short amount of time. So
yeah. Well, I'm very proud of you for starting this. I didn't realize it was so recent. Man, it's like you're in month 4 or something like that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, no, I just started it. So it's been definitely a bit of a journey, kind of learning all the ropes and stuff, but it's been nice to have the support of people. I think that definitely really helps, surrounding yourself with people who keep you uplifted and, support you throughout the way. And so thank you so much. I wish you luck in kind of whatever endeavors you start, from this point on. I know you have a lot going on. So
yes, it's all exciting, but we'll definitely stay in touch. And I want to see you grow too. So let's do this.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I hope you have a great day.
You too. Talk soon.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.